Hello everyone, a very good morning. So let us begin this session now. First, sorry for the inconvenience because we ran into some technical issue on our end, so there was a delay. Now, first thing first, my name is Shishir Murthy. I am the application engineer here at Beacon who takes care of the PLM and PDM sort of products for the Beacon. Now, moving forward, for today's session, our topic is data management that can help us, the teams within the organization, have their development targets been reached within time. Okay. So, moving forward, now let us just have a quick view of what PDM is in a short introduction in this video, and then we will go on with the presentation. So there are cases where we can have multiple copies of the duplicates of the files going on within the system. The organization when they're creating multiple files and multiple teams working on files. So it becomes a cluttered system wherein we don't know which file are we looking for at the end of the day. And we might think that is the right file, but still it might just been overwritten by someone else and it might be changed. So the easiest way to do is with the help of a data management. So PDM is one such tool where that allows you to have the completely access a secure vault where you can store all your data and keep track of all the updates that are going on. So it's easy for any user to find among all the versions which are the file that they require. In case if there are any files which are not good, like if any disaster happens and your files are lost, you can always go back and track your previous versions which have been kept inside the vault and get them and start working on all the files from them. And also there is privacy and security of the data inside treatment that makes sure that only the authorized persons can access the files as files are encrypted, and also this data can be shared across the globe by creating multiple replication sites. PDM will also allow users to have inter collaboration with various department teams in the process and keep track of how the overall progress is going on by checking the workflow status. Also, for every stage, we can have automatic notifications sent. Automatically sent to all the users across the organization and keep them in loop on what stage progress or the stage at which the project is going on. And another part is that PDM is integrated to Windows. That's it very much easier for the users to work on. And rather than just identifying where your file is and trying to spend most of time, you can just have your files in your PDM and start gaining a much more better experience and have much more productivity with PDM. Before we just enter to the PDM, let me just give you a brief introduction to what is SOLIDWORKS and its portfolio. So SOLIDWORKS is an ecosystem of various tools that can help you in every stage of the design. So we're currently what's seeing here is, let me just change my point. Yeah, so currently we are seeing here is an ecosystem wherein the design stage starts with the concept and project planning, wherein this can be handled with our SolidWorks and electrical PCP, which helps in also having integration with mechanical electrical design if you are part of that team, and having the validation done for all the designs that you're performing through simulation can be achieved, and then technical communication where exchange of data has to be done through various departments and also to the external vendors to whom you want to give, or even to customers, sorry, or the customers on what the product is, before it is even released, by giving a glimpse of your products, can be done with the technical communication tools that we have like Composer and Visualize. Finally, coming to the quality and manufacturing, we can have inspection and MPD that can allow you to have a better quality control, like creating the first article inspection report and having a paperless drawing through MPD. All this can be done for production unit and also the quality checks. And finally, overall, at the end, having all this data stored inside a vault and with the help of PDM and having it managed with revisions and version control can be achieved with SOLIDWORKS PDM and our PLM solution called SOLIDWORKS Manage. Let me just quickly post a poll question for the attendees in the webinar now. So we'll just wait for another 30 seconds so that we can answer this question. Okay, we will be closing the poll question in another 5 seconds. Okay. So we see some answers here. So majority of the people have selected simplify managing the design data and process across the organization and product info. That's the right one. And yeah, storing files is part of having data management also. Now, quickly another poll question for the attendees. I will just launch it again and we have another 30 seconds to go for it. Okay, we'll be closing the poll in another 5 seconds. All right. Okay, we see a mix of inputs where it is pretty much very high for most of them. It's high. Okay, so anyone who have these, this question particularly was to understand how is your current challenges with regards to duplicate files in the organization. So if you have any queries, please keep them with you, and at the end we will have a Q&A session wherein you can post your questions if you have any questions on these duplicate files as such. Okay, so moving forward. So for this webinar, this is our agenda for the day, wherein we'll first talk about the challenges which are there in the organization or we commonly see for most of our customers which they face, and finally also show you the solution for this. Now let us look at the challenges first. So most commonly which challenges which we see are, one is the version or revision control, wherein the proper revision file is not available to the end, that is production or manufacturing team. They're shared with the latest, but still sometimes they lose it, or it just happens that it just doesn't reach them at the end of the day with the latest revision. Or even with the design team, the versions, one user might be working on the one particular part, another user might be working on the very same part at the later stage for their another project, where there's a collaboration going on multiple projects, and it just keeps getting overwritten. And at the end of the day, you just lose the work that you have done, and it might just cause you to have internal design issues wherein you will not be able to complete a particular design within the given time frame. Next, another big problem is the broken references. Now, someone just uses it in the design part and the particular part or an assembly, and just while saving, they just save it as a different name, or it so happens that someone just moves it from one folder to another folder, and without updating the references at the end. That causes the loss of the references between the assembly and the parts, which at the end of the day will, when you're releasing the whole assembly, you will have to rework on the lost references, or you might spend the time on searching, just like how we saw in the video, where you have to go through a lot of data and just search for the files, and you'll not find, you might just end up wasting your time, or you may not find it at the end of the day. Next is the data sharing with the peers and your colleagues down the line in the process. Then having the collaboration with one another while sharing the data is also another part of it, which we see as a challenge. Next is process management. It so often happens that while not having a defined process will cause a lot of clutterness in the organization in design process. And also, even if there is a defined process, there are sometimes chances that we end up, for one or the other needs, we might just go, move from the line of the process and just go bypass it in the manual process, even though if there is a strict process being defined in the organization. So having a process defined system will help you in controlling that process challenge, so that everyone goes through the same process line, so that it will be very easier for you at the end of the day, especially for the audits, or when you want to meet the any standard body accreditation, which needs a following process to be defined in the organizations. And also the file duplicacy, which is a major challenge. Then searching through the files, which is so like when you have a huge amount of data from the past organization design creation, and when you want to use an old design again with new modifications, or even if the new project which were having a lot of design iterations, and searching through these files will take a lot of time. Another is major concern with this data security, because we don't want anyone else from the outside organization having your files accessed and losing those files, And also another is, in case if anything happens to server, how do you recoup from it by having a data backup? Okay, so data backup is another big headache for the IT department of the organization, or even the designers themselves, just because in case something happens to the system or the server, how do you go back and start your work again by not losing a much amount of data, or not at all losing any of your data that you have worked on. Another part is the connecting with the ERP or SAP system that you have, where you need to exchange form and other details for your down the line, because in most of the organization, I believe that either the marketing or even the supply chain manager team will be using the ERP for their activities of either placing an order or checking the orders, or even the BOM or any other such activities of inventory management as such. For them also, having this data shared is another tedious activity, where the design team will share them the form, and then they will sit and manually enter, or you will have one particular person sitting there in the organization working on all these entries. So all these are the main challenges which we see across our organization customer bases, and these are very much possible to be solved with the right solution. Quickly, we'll just have one more poll here, so and I'll just post it in just a second. Yep, you have another 30 seconds to answer this, and later we will move on to the next part of the presentation. Okay, we'll be closing the poll in another 3 seconds. All right. Yeah, I see pretty good mix of answers here. Few for designers, few for purchase, a few for company finance, and yeah, majority have said all of the above. Actually, when you say this, it's actually all of the above, because when there are duplicates in the file, in the designs, that end up having multiple part numbers, for them at the end of the day, or even if there are few cases that you might be using your ERP to control this, but still it so happens that there are some dummy or duplicate files created with different part numbers altogether. So now when this part numbers goes to the purchase or planning team, they will have to order two different products since they have two different part numbers. So this ends up having a lot of occupying your inventory space and also a lot of finance for your company, just because you have unused parts or spare parts which were ordered for just few projects. Okay, so having duplicates is one of the major challenges that actually overall brings down the organization with a lot of issues. All right, let us move on to the next poll question. Again, you have another 30 seconds to answer these. All right, we'll be closing the poll in another 5 seconds. Okay, nice. We see a mix of polls here. Results: few saying it for revision control, few for data access, and few for data backup. All right, so the one question here I have is with regards to what are your concerns, especially when you selected these options. So please make a note of these questions because I would love to answer these during our Q&A session at the end of the webinar. All right, moving on to the next part. Now let us talk actually about some solutions now that we have talked about challenges so far. So SolidWorks PDM allows you to overcome all these challenges that we just talked about, and we'll see how it actually helps you in doing that. Let me just briefly give you what PDM is. PDM is a data management or file management tool from SolidWorks that helps you to control and manage your data issues like such as revision, version, or all that we just talked about. All right. So now let us see what are the capabilities of a PDM that allows you to overcome these. So starting with first is the granular security. So PDM has a granular security that allows you to have access control over all the files. So when I say granular security, I mean that PDM has its own logins. So only the authorized persons will be able to access the files, and you can control which user gets read access, which user gets edit access, who has only view, and you can also share control all the parameters of how a file goes through through the organization within the PDM environment. Next is a powerful search tool because PDM has a search tool capability that is customizable. So normal search in Windows would have been through either with a file name, file type, or the location. But with PDM, we can have it customized to any of the criteria that you define your product or your design to be with. Either it could be a part number, it could be a material of the design, it could be a project name, it could be anything that you define it to be the criteria for searching the file for your projects. Next is flexible workflow. We say PDM has flexible workflow because, as I was mentioning earlier, and also we saw in the video wherein we can define the processes. So PDM allows you to have a flexible workflow that can help you in defining a process which you want to follow within the organization. Either it could be for with regards to a particular standard compliance process that you're following for a particular project, or it could be for your overall organization that they follow the process that you're currently following. It could be anything. Next is replication. Replication is a feature in PDM that allows you to share data, instantaneously with anyone within the organization, no matter where they're in the globe. So if you have multiple sites in your organization, like you're working with different teams which are sitting in different locations, you can have replication set for them in the server, and as soon as you upload the file here, it will be made available for them over there as well. Or even if they upload there, it will be made available to you here sitting in your office. Next is data connectivity. So we were just discussing about ERP and SAP integration for exchange of BOM and inventory details. So all that can be done with the data connectivity part of it. Next is scalable solutions. So we say PDM is scalable because it has integration with Windows that makes it very easy. So nothing much different from how you're doing without a PDM, without a data management tool. So for any new user, it will be very quick and easy to learn the PDM functionalities and start getting integrated with the environment and start working on the requirements of the PDM or the process of the projects. So you can easily expand it to other team members as well, which we'll just see in few minutes. So now let us just quickly go and see what PDM is. So as I was just telling you that there is a granular security to the PDM. So here I'm just selecting my vault. I can log in from here with this window. And once I log in, I can go to my Explorer. And here I have my link for my vault. So as you can see, the whole PDM environment is integrated with the Windows. So it is not much different from how you're working. Apart from these few options at the bottom and on the top, and few menu options that you'll get in addition with regards to the PDM. So let me just quickly give an introduction to PDM. So PDM interface here, this is the preview tab. So preview is for seeing the files, as the name suggests. So it is very useful for any person, within the organization who doesn't have a CAD tool in the system, and they want to see some files. Okay, so they can use this preview for that purpose. The preview also is integrated with redrawing, which comes along with SolidWorks or the PDM, which helps you in having zoom, pan, rotate, perform all these functions and activities within the PDM. Let me just quickly create a part and like a drawing and a Word document and show you. So let's say I'm just saving this Word document here. Just quickly change. So here you can see how it is currently like being named after my login. So it shows that who is having the ownership of the file. So you can check who is working on which files. Also, the state column shows in which stage of the process is the file in. So there are a few actions which we have to do as a user, like adding this files to server, that is check-in. So that allows us to move the file to server, make it visible for other users to start seeing these files. Okay. So in the preview tab, we can see the very same contents there. So this works with the CAD and all other files as well. Data card is another section with of the PDM that is one-stop location for you to get all the information on files. So as you can see here, there are a few details like the number with regards to the project number, description of which project belongs to, who created it, on which date. So all these are information that are there, and these are customizable. So we can customize this as per the project requirements. Next, there is version. So this is how the file, like PDM keeps track of the file. Currently, this is version 2. So if I want to modify this, I can just say, go ahead and edit this. I'll just check out, make it my own. Open the file and edit it again. So once I updated the server, it will automatically update itself with the new version. You can see it's now in version 3. So how it does it help me is I can check the history. Here I can see this version 1, 2, 3, identifying the user on which day and time and what changes they did. And also I can go back to the older versions and get the older version as well. As you can see, the content has changed now inside this. And there is a symbol indicating that we are working with an older version with the red icon over here. And if it is a new, it will indicate with the green. There's a modification. I'll just get the latest. So now you can see it is with equals to sign saying that I'm working on the latest. So this goes even for the CAD files as well. I'll just quickly add a CAD file and show you. Let me just go to SolidWorks. In the meantime, while the SolidWorks loads, let's just talk about a few other sections of the PDM. There's, I was mentioning, there is search functionality also. So search functionality can be defined however we want. Like we customize it. Currently, this is one of the defaults but we can define it in various sections. Now, the first tab is for the name and description, like what is the name of file, where it is located. There's details like when it was added, and next is on data card. As I was mentioning, data card can be a one-stop location for all the files. So based on data card entries like the part number, description, weight, material, finish, whether it was a build or purchase criteria, it could be anything. You can define these and we can search based on them. Let's say I say I want to search for a file which has number 94 inside it. You can see automatically it populates all the files which were there, and also gives me still the previewed section of it, allowing me to confirm whether this is the same file that we are looking for. Also, there is a section called for check-in, check-out that shows which you can just tell the user and see which all files they're working on. It will show you the user with the files on which they're working with at the moment. And especially this workflow is very useful for the managers or the reviewers. If they want to see any particular file in the PDM, which is waiting for their approval, they can just come over here, select the criteria and say waiting for approval. And as soon as hit run, they'll see all the files that are pending for approval with them. Okay, so in a single shot, they can check all these files and then start releasing it for further processing. Even it's possible to search based on content, like inside the file, like inside Word and document, we say Control F to find any particular content, right? Similarly, we can do that same thing from here itself. So let me just quickly make a part here. Another advantage of SolidWorks PDM is that it is integrated with SolidWorks as well. So especially the designers don't have to come out of the interface of the SolidWorks itself. Let me just show you. So this is the interface of PDM here. So if I'm creating a new file, I can just start create. I'll just quickly go to and start working on it. While saving, I'll just quickly go to my vault and just save this inside. As you can see here, automatically as soon as I save the file part, automatically the PDM is assigning a number to it based on the serial number that has been assigned within the system. So you don't have to worry about assigning a part number also to the file while creating them from scratch. So automatically PDM will take care of adding a new file to the file number to the part. And I'll just quickly save this here. So once it's saved, it asks me for a few information that I have to fill. I'll just click it as yes. I'll just select which type of finish it is. Automatically, the material and weight will be taken later on once we define it in the custom properties. Now, as you can see here, which I mentioned, it shows with the green icon showing it's an updation to the file. So once I check it in, it will automatically give it a number. Currently, there is no number that has been assigned. So once I check it in, it will be updated. So now it is version 2. So if I were to again add any, but let's say again want to modify, you can just check out from here, start editing. And again, just check it inside. now it made it to version 3. So further here we can get these versions here, just like how I showed with the history. Then also the data card can be modified from here itself. Later on, we can even see if that if it is linked to anything in references, we can add that. We can just see where it is being used. Also, there is the search functionality right from here. So designers can directly come to the SolidWorks, go to the PDM add-in, and start searching for the file that they want from the search criteria here itself. And another part is when you want to submit for a process. Currently, you can see it is in under editing, which is the initial stage of the process where it is with the designers. Next, I would need it to be approved, so I can submit it for approval. So by selecting just this, it will automatically ask me to whom I want to send it to. Here it will show the list of users who are part of the next stage to whom I can notify for the approval. And once I say OK, automatically the file will move to the next stage. As you can see, the stage has been updated to waiting for approval from the editing under editing. So similarly, if a manager logs in, they can move it to the release stage, or they can have an option. Since currently I'm logged in as admin, I have all the rights, so I can see all the options. But when it comes to users, it will be user specific. So in case if a manager wants any changes to be done, they can just say editing required and send it back to designer for modification, or release it for the next revision. So currently earlier we saw there's no revision. So once I say pass approval, automatically revision bump will happen. Now you can see the local revision here is A. I'll just show it in data card as well. Earlier it was blank, now it is revision A. We can even have a numeric revision defined over here. So this is a brief of what the PDM is, and also one more thing I'll just show you with regards to the BOM and the here you can see the PDM is automatically pulling the BOM details. So PDM is pulling the BOM information based on how the design was built. Here we can see the tree structure of how the designs have been developed, the feature tree, and here are all the list of the files. And also you can see there are a few external references that have been added, like the text. There's a backup, there's an NC code, and even there are a few images at the bottom which have been added as reference to the files. So all these external references can be maintained with the help of PDM. Here we can see all the references. And also if we go to this document, and we can see where you show me to which part it is linked to. So even these BOMs can have multiple variants to this. Like this is engineering BOM. So if I want a manufacturing BOM, I can define it. As you can see, in manufacturing BOM, we have material columns additionally added with weight and cost as part of it. So, and also another part is we can export these BOM instantaneously into an Excel with all the levels intact. So here we can see that all the levels are intact, and it shows all the parts and with all the columns here. Also, we can add any additional line items by saving this as a separate BOM, which we call them as name BOMs. Here we can add additional child parts. If I want to add a child to this, I can just insert a child row, and I can add a child part. Let's say I want to add a purchased out packaging for this. Packaging or any other child which is like a bought out item, which is not part of the design, but it's a bought out item. We can just add them as line items. This is a part number or an order number that has been given for this. So I can just save this, and this can be further taken through BOM approvals, as here also we have options to check in and then move it for next stages. So this is the overall of what PDM is. Like we can have workflows, we can have part number generation, we can have data card which will help in search criteria. So all these are some of the capabilities that we just saw. Overall, how PDM will be placed within the organization, we can see this through this image, wherein you can see the file system which we see is where PDM will be placed. Okay, so wherein the engineering designers will create CAD documents and other documents. Manufacturing users will give other information with regards to their inputs on the CAD, whether it is like for their review, if it goes, they can give their information. then the NC codes which they generate for the machines, and also any BOM which they have. Also, there are other departments such as the marketing team who gives an RFQ, and it could be any other department which has the input to the design team. Even it could be your customers or vendors who gave in their inputs on the design requirements. So all that can be as bought inside PDM and stored in their sections and have a collaboration across one another, and also share the very same thing back to them if there are any input for their inputs. And also this can be shared to the ERP or MRP of your organization through an Excel or any other such XML or any such outputs for them to input and have a complete ecosystem of the organization connected with proper controls and process definitions. Also, in addition, PDM supports a multi-CAD support that involves the having the add-in, just like what we saw for PDM with the SolidWorks, with the other CAD tools such as AutoCAD, Inventor Pro, Solid Edge, and any other documents like the MS and all. And also, with regards to add-in support, but when it comes to file support, we can have other files added. Anything which is allowed by the Windows to store inside, so you can even store your NC codes, your electrical Gerber files can be stored inside. There is even integration for electrical with SolidWorks Electrical in case if you're looking for that. So all that is possible with the PDM. Next, let's just quickly see what are the benefits that we get with PDM. So one is easy trackability and managing all the changes that the file has gone through with the history and version control. Next is the organization or the team will be spending much lesser time on identifying them with the help of search, because it searches through all the files with revisions, versions, everything. Next is it will increase the engineering process, because the another aspect of PDM is that since we have versions, your design cycle can be improved. Like if there's already a product that has gone through a previous revision, like it has been released, and there's a new product that you want to introduce, but it is similar to the one that is already released, but with minor modifications. You can directly pick the design from there with whichever version you want to. Like just we saw versions, you can go back to older versions and you can just start working on. So just to give you a brief idea on what I'm talking about, let's say this is one of my motors which I want to work on. Let's say it's not a rod, let's assume it is a motor, and I need to just modify my the motor size, a base. So what I can do is I can just quickly start from here itself, or if I can go to my version 2 and start my modification right from the base. So this will help me in having a better engineering design cycle overall in the organization. Next is having an improved productivity. Since it is all interconnected, we will be able to have a better productivity because we're sharing the latest files, because we can automate the sharing of files to production. Like once the file is released, automatically PDM will take care of converting them to PDF or any other or a model into a step or IGS. So automatically it will be shared to them through the notification, and they can directly access the files in their shared drives. When I say shared drive, it is within the PDM environment and not the shared drives like Google Drive or the Outlook as such. So we can have an enhanced collaboration with CAD and non-CAD departments, as you saw in the previous image, where there is communication going on with the design, there is communication going on with the manufacturing, even the other departments like the marketing or a supplier. So all this communication can happen with ease within the PDM. Next is improved search results. As you saw, that search can be customized, and also its functionality of showcasing the preview tab that will allow you to preview, see data card info and all that. That helps a lot in having a better search criteria within the organization. Then automatic communication with the notifications, and also can have any of the process like engineering change process, BOM approval process, design approval process. Anything can be customized in the PDM as long as it has a file. Even the RFQ approvals can be done through PDM. Even the any other process that you need for a document, like an NPI, NPD, any of these processes can be built inside the PDM. Next, also in PDM, we can surely say that it will reduce your issues with the corrupt files due to the network. Like we have seen a lot of cases in our customers where they have a shared network server, where every user will be going to that server to work for the files. And in case if there is something happens, like a network shortage, like network disconnection or anything in the power disconnection, anything happens to server or the client systems, the files usually get corrupted, or they're not retrievable, or even partially retrievable. So all that issues can be overcome with PDM, as it will be keeping a track of versions whenever you do a check-in. So automatically, whenever you save and put it inside server, it will keep a copy of it. So you can go back, even if something is lost, you can just go back to the previous day's check-in and start your work from yesterday's data. So I would like to thank you all for attending this webinar so far, and we open now this session to you, the attendees, to post your questions in the question section, so that we can answer them if there are any pending questions on so far the demonstration, the presentation that we did, or any of the poll questions which we asked you to make a note of, so we can have them all answered now. Okay, we have few questions popping in. So we have one question from Mr. Sachin, that is, can we give access to multiple users for editing an assembly? Now, in PDM, the editing is based on ownership. So when it comes to assembly, I'm sure it's not like everyone is working on same part. So each user, let's say there is an assembly with 10 parts inside it. So each of these parts can be shared with respective users, like they can take it as their ownership and start working on it. And still the assembly will be available for all of them to refer by creating these or modifying those parts. So in that manner, multiple users can easily work on the files inside the assembly. I hope that answers your question, Sachin sir. Next, we have one more question from Ashish, which is, suppose if we are making any updates in older revision, it will reflect in next revision as well. Yes, whenever you, the main purpose of revisions is to capture any changes that it goes through. So in PDM, we will have to define an engine change process, wherein the older revisions has to go through that process for any further modifications. So automatically the new revisions will happen, if that is what the question was. Okay, any more questions from the attendees over there, like on the poll questions, like the key pain areas or duplicate files if you have? Okay, this is another question from Ashish. That is, if we want any revision as a reference to create any model and want to provide new drawing number to it, is possible? Yes, it is very much possible. We can assign new drawing number to it and have it created with a separate file. Like you'll just have to save it as a new file within PDM. It will have a new drawing number assigned to it. That is one way. Or else we can have it in the revision cycle and have it assign a new drawing number if it's, like it's going through the whole new cycle of drawing numbers. Like that cycles can be defined. There are multiple ways to tackle this, which we might have to sit with you and exchange the requirements, and then we'll be able to give you a better solution on that. There's one more question from Kamesh. Can we delete the older versions and make the latest version as old versions? Okay, so coming to the point, to the capability of deleting versions, no sir. PDM being a data management solution that does not allow you to delete versions. It is, but when it comes to a stage, we have a feature within PDM that allows you to control the excess versions. So we can store the non-required versions out of the server and in some other database. So that is possible only for admin. We don't usually give it to the users to delete older versions and modify. It is possible, but it is with admins only. Okay, there's another question from Sachin. Is it available as app on mobile? No, sir. There is no app for PDM. It is on server basis. But yeah, PDM does have its web client. Like we can, you can connect to the server through a web portal that we can make it available, that you can access through your mobiles or through any other browser-based environment to to cross-check and have approvals and such functions being done. But you'll not be able to edit and do it on the server directly. There is a workaround for that, like a different approach compared to what I just showed you right now when it comes to opening it on browser and as such. Okay, there's another question from Imran, that is, in case someone doesn't have SolidWorks installed, is there a view-only application for PDM? Yes, sir. PDM has a view capability as well. So it depends on the license that you buy. So there are two types of license. One is editor and one is viewer. So people who will modify, you can have editor license for them, and people who just need viewing, like as I'm assuming this for the production or the suppliers who just needs the files to be viewed and not editing them. So for them, we can just have a viewer license assigned through which they can see the file. Okay, everyone, thank you very much for attending this webinar. And if you have any further more questions, you can always either post that question to the shared email ID that is on the screen, or even to the very same email ID through which you got this webinar link, and we will be happy to answer you those. Okay, so thank you very much for taking your precious time and attending this webinar. Hope to see you soon in another webinar or meet you in person in case if you have any queries and want us to come down to your place or have a discussion on in online session. Thank you very much.